The Atlanta Braves did Atlanta Braves things. The New York Mets did New York Mets things. And Atlanta wins the game 4-3 and the series. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over on bravestoday.com. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. That is Jake Mastroianni, host of Locked On Braves. Follow him on social media at shortstopball. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. Tomorrow's the mailbag episode, one of the most fun ones. But earlier this week, I wrote a newsletter. You did a podcast talking about Bryce Elder. Or, well, correction, we talked about pitching for 2026, but I'm pretty sure we both kind of badmouthed Bryce Elder a little bit. And apparently he was listening because Atlanta wins this one 4-3. And Ozzie did a lot of stuff today. Michael Harris did a lot of stuff today. But I kind of feel like we got to talk about Bryce Elder. 7 innings out of Bryce Elder. 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks to 6 strikeouts, and gets the win. What was more unexpected? Spencer Strider getting lit up in game 1 or Bryce Elder giving you a quality start in game 3?
Yeah, not just a quality start. I mean, 7 innings, that's like a quality start plus in my book. So, I mean, that's obviously Strider getting bombed was a little bit more surprising with the way that, really both those guys haven't been pitching well, but I wouldn't have expected Strider to get bombed like that. I saw somebody in the comments say Carrasco had to walk so Elder could run. But it's just
Carrasco showed him what not to do. So Elder did the opposite.
So did Strider, and for that matter. In the podcast I had earlier this week talking about the rotation for 2026, there wasn't much said about Bryce Elder other than I hope we don't see much of him next year. And you're right. Maybe he was listening an everydayer of the podcast, but I mean, it was a great performance by him. And look, this is the thing with Bryce Elder. And I was listening to it on radio while I was cutting the grass in the first half of the game, dad goals. But Darren O'Day was talking about the fact that when Bryce Elder has it all working, this is what he can do. It's just I say it all the time, there's such a fine line for Bryce Elder from being really good and just being straight awful. And it all has to go his way. He's got to be locating down to the zone. He's got to be able to get those ground balls. But one thing you did see in this one, and you saw it a little bit with Iggy too in the final inning, is the 4-seamer and being able to go to that. I know we talked about it earlier in the year when he was having his good stretch, how much he was able to use that 4-seamer at the top of the zone, because I've done a much bigger podcast in the past on Bryce Elder. And in that, I talked about the fact that if I'm a hitter, I don't swing at anything that starts at my waist because it's going to end up down and out of the zone. I wait until I see something up because you're going to be able to drive it. Well, now you see something up, it might be the 4-seamer. So you got to give some respect to that pitch if he's able to throw it at the top of the zone. I thought he did a pretty good job of that tonight. The only one he really didn't, locate, or at least one that came back to bite him, was the one to Pete Alonso where he gave up the hit there to lose the lead. But I think that's become a difference maker for him, or can be. It was in this game, certainly, but it all is dependent on the sinker. Is he able to locate it at the bottom? The slider has been a good swing and miss pitch for him in the past. 6 of 12 tonight, whiffs on that slider. So, I mean, he has the potential to be a good starter. It's a very fine line. A lot of things have to go his way. He's got to get some calls on the edges. There were a couple of those tonight too. So it was just kind of the perfect storm for Bryce Elder to have that good outing, and the Braves definitely needed it.
Yeah. And on that fine line, like, it felt like the slider, yes, he got the 6 whiffs and 12 swings, but when they made contact, they blasted that thing. 4 balls put into play, average exit velocity of 98.3 on the slider, but he got the whiffs when he needed them. And to your point, he was able to mix the sinker and the 4-seamer. He's one fastball away from having all the fastballs. And he threw it a little bit. He threw a cutter a little bit in the minors last year. I don't know what happened to it. But it's when Bryce Elder's on, to Darren's point, to your point, he can do things like this. We saw him against the Giants. He was phenomenal when he was on. There's a question in our chat from Sethan. Does Bryce Elder need a cutter? Every pitcher needs a cutter. There's no reason not to throw one. If you throw a fastball and a breaking ball, you should throw a cutter. It's probably going to be a good bridge pitch for you. Looking at like after Elder comes out of the game, which honestly, I was shocked that he came back out for the 7th. Daysabel Hernandez was warming up. Daysabel was on 2 days of rest. He did not pitch yesterday. He did not. I don't think he pitched in game 1 either. And so I thought he was going to take over for the 7th. Elder comes back out, gets through it. Dylan Lee looks pretty good. He gives up a hit, but looks pretty good in the 8th. Raisel Iglesias looked unhittable in the 9th. He looked like the old Raisel Iglesias, 7 pitches for 3 outs, gets a ground out on the first pitch. I'm starting to wonder about this, Jake. I'm starting to wonder, is it possible Atlanta actually considers bringing Raisel Iglesias back next year?
I mean, I think for both him and Ozuna, I think it's all just going to depend on cost. I mean, if they go out and try to look for that big money somewhere else and they're just not getting it, I could see the Braves taking a shot on both of them with the money that if it doesn't work out, you're okay just kind of cutting loose. So I think it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he's been so good. I mean, this is really one blip on what's been a really good career for Iggy, but he is, obviously getting into his mid to upper 30s. So that's obviously when you would expect some decline for both he and Ozuna. But I thought he was good tonight. This did look like vintage Iggy. I mean, it was 97 up there in the zone, 98 on the strikeout to Jeff McNeil, which was middle. But like we talked about with Spencer Strider, you get away with it a little bit more when it's 98 like that. So just good stuff from him, just pounding the strike zone. I mean, the Mullins ball was hit hard, but right at right cell, but just a quick one for him. And I thought the Dylan Lee inning was really impressive too. I mean, he had to go to the top of the order, and the one hit he gave up and was infield single that Nick Allen almost made a great play on to get Lindor. Lindor was a problem tonight. He seems to be getting going in this series, unfortunately, but I thought both guys were good. I mean, the bat to Juan Soto for Dylan Lee, 3 sliders. Talk about Strider too much here. 3 sliders, and the third one was just perfect. I mean, the first 2 weren't even really that good, but the third one was just absolutely perfect. And he went to a 4-seamer in the Brandon Nimmo at bat. He missed with the slider. You saw him shake to the fastball, and then he painted it on the outside corner. So I thought Dylan Lee was really impressive. All the pitching I thought in tonight's game was really, really good.
Yeah, and for a team that's really struggled since the trade deadline or the All-Star break, really, with health in the rotation and good pitching performances, seeing Atlanta win a game where they only score 4 runs is kind of heartening because it felt for a while there. And like you can look at the Carrasco starts. You won all 3 of his starts, but you had to score a ton of runs in all 3. It felt like the offense had to carry the team. This is really one of the first wins in this little stretch, and Kevin has the stat here in the chat. We're 8-6 in our last 14 games. This really felt like the first stretch where both sides of the ball, to use a football reference, the offense and the pitching staff really kind of carried their own weight, and this was a complete team effort versus the offense just out slugging them or a starter going deep and shutting them down. And seeing things like that kind of gives you a little bit of hope for 2026 that, hey, maybe it's not a complete tear it down rebuild because the pieces are here. And when everybody's on, they're one of the best teams in baseball.
I mean, because just imagine if you had this offense, and I know that's what all Braves fans are thinking right now and frustrated about. Think if you had this offense and you still had at least a couple of your healthy starters that are on the 60-day IL right now. You don't have to have all of them. You don't want to be greedy here, but imagine you had, Sell and Holmes or Schwellenbach and Ronaldo Lopez. Like, just give me 2 of them in this rotation right now with the offense that you're getting. And I still think it can be one of the best teams in baseball, certainly a postseason team. So, yeah, it does give you that kind of hope. I also see the frustrations, too. We'll get to Michael and Ozzie here in a minute, but I hear all the comments. Why weren't they doing this in the first half? And certainly understand that frustration. But just living in the moment here, it's fun to see, and it gives us a glimpse of what this team could potentially be.
Absolutely. All right, in just a second, we're going to talk about that offense, talk about Ozzie coming to triple shy of the cycle, all that next right here on the Braves Postcast. Most people just can't name all their financial accounts or even tell you what their net worth is, right? 401k, properties, investments, fixed assets. Most people just don't know. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's why Monarch Money exists. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone, because it does the heavy lifting for you. With Monarch Money, you can link all your accounts in minutes, see your clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever needing to touch a spreadsheet. You might have subscriptions you forgot you're paying for. Could be something like the gym and you're not going. Could be something like you did a trial of a service and didn't realize that it didn't automatically cancel or that it automatically renewed. Monarch Money can find that for you, and canceling those will save you money every month. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. All right, Jake, Braves pick up 9 hits in this one. 6 of them are the back-to-back. It's 5 and 6 spots in the order. Michael Harris, Ozzie Albies. Harris goes 3 for 4, 1 run, 1 RBI. He scores the run off of that Ozzie double late. Ozzie, again, triple shy of the cycle, gets the homer, gets the RBI double, does everything here. I still felt like, for the most part, minus the bottom third of the order, which really kind of struggled offensively tonight, minus the bottom third of the order, it's a continuation of those really, really good at-bats. And the first thing that I'm thinking about now is 2 of those 3 members of the bottom third of the order probably aren't going to be in the order this time next week when Ronald Acuna Jr. is back and when Austin Riley's back. And it makes you feel really good about, again, what this team can do when everybody's healthy.
Yeah, laughing because I saw a comment is that somebody said, is this offense still going to be as good once Acuna and Riley return? And then I looked at the bottom of the order and I saw those 0 for 4s, and I was thinking, well, they can't be any worse than what is there right now. So, yeah, definitely could help out and make it even more fun to watch this offense the rest of the way. But you're right. I mean, the top of the order, Profar didn't get on twice tonight, but at least did have a hit. Olsen had a hit and a walk. Drake Baldwin a hit, scored a run. Marcel had a big walk late in the game, and was pinch ran for by Eli White, who come around to score. But Michael Harris and Ozzie Albies, I mean, it was get the bat to them tonight. They were outstanding in this one. Michael Harris obviously has been on a hot stretch here for a while now, 6 straight games with double digit hits. But it was nice to see Ozzie get in on it, because I feel like in this good stretch of offense that the Braves have been having, I don't feel like we've said Ozzie's name a whole lot. So it's good to see him kind of get in on the act and have one of those big games. Had the home run early, then had the big RBI late on kind of one of those patented Ozzie swings. I mean, he's off balance. It's a ball that's just off the dirt, but he still has the power to hook it on the right field line, almost hit it out. I mean, he still has that power, that pop in his bat. So it was good. I thought it was a good night for Ozzie. Obviously, Michael, he's been doing this for a little while now. We've given him a lot of flowers, but Ozzie in this game, I mean, I thought that was big for me, because I just don't feel like we've talked about him a ton in this stretch for the offense.
We really haven't, because he hasn't done much, right? But like last 30 games, he's batting .245 with a .391 slug. This is his only homer in the last like 15 or so games. I forget the last day he had one, but it was sometime, and I think they said early June is when he had his last home run. So getting this was obviously a big deal. And I think the bigger, yes, Ozzie having the hits in general were really good, but what I like is 2 of his 3 RBIs came with 2 outs. And this has always been, even when some of these guys have been hot at different times, right? When Matt Olson was nuclear earlier in the year and things like that, it felt like sometimes that was the kryptonite, right? A runner in scoring position and 2 outs, because all of their RBI, their runners in scoring position production, that's not easy to say, was always a deep fly ball, sac fly kind of thing. And being able to get the double, get the single, bring runners in with 2 outs and extending the innings, that's been the big thing. And so seeing that makes me feel like, yes, Ozzie's not fixed. Like, we think Michael Harris is fixed. We talked about the mechanics. We talked about the changes. Ozzie's not fixed. But seeing him deliver in the clutch makes me feel a lot better about if you're in the situation where he is your second baseman next year, that he's not going to be the silver slugger caliber Ozzie that we, from what we can see right now, but you should still be able to make it work with him at second base when he's giving you clutch hits and situational batting. And I think that's the biggest change that has already shown up. We're just waiting for that power to come back.
I mean, and think about it. When Riley and Acuna come back into the lineup, I mean, Ozzie could be batting seventh or eighth in this order. It probably should be, even though I know Brian Snicker had him batting, fourth or fifth on Tuesday, I guess because they were facing the lefty, and that's still a thing, even though it hasn't been all year. But I mean, I think they're going to pick up the option on Ozzie. I think it'll be $3 million difference. You're not saving a ton of money there. And whether or not you give him another chance, I think just depends on how the offseason develops. I don't think Nacho is the answer. If they were trying to groom him for that, I don't think it's going to be Nacho. It would have to be outside of the organization at this point. So, it's an important stretch of the season for Ozzie, but you're right about the runners in scoring position part there. I mean, that's really what's hurt the Braves. They have gotten runners on. They have gotten runners in scoring position. They have not been able to bring them in. And maybe part of this is just a course correction from what was, just awful in the first half. But good to see them at least starting to come through in those spots.
It's almost like we talked about luck. It's almost like the luck kind of is just random variance, and it normalizes from time to time. All right, so again, 4-3 victory for the Braves over the Mets to take the series. Since there is a question in the chat, I was going to get to it already. I'll go ahead and mention it from Larry. Atlanta is now on a plane to Cleveland to take on the Guardians for 3. Hurston Waldrop gets the start on Friday night against Joey Cantillo, lefty. We'll see what Atlanta does with the lineup. Ronald Acuna Jr. did travel to Cleveland early. It's possible they activate him tomorrow. I'm guessing Vidal Brujan is probably the odd man out there, but we'll see if it's Luke Williams instead. Saturday, Joey Wentz versus Slade Sassoni, the trade acquisition from Arizona. And then Sunday, Eric Fetty versus Logan Allen. You face two lefties in this series. Really curious to see what's going to happen here, simply because it feels like they don't face a ton of lefty starters in a series like this. But do us a favor. If you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review. Apple, Spotify. Words of affirmation are always great too. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to both Locked On Braves and Locked On Sports Atlanta. A lot of Falcons content coming over on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Obviously, Jake's got tons of stuff, including the mailbag tomorrow. He'll have the tweet up soon. Get your questions in for tomorrow's mailbag. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Lindsay Crosby. This has been the Braves Postcast.